Hi everybody, this is Scott Mason with another chess video for the Contra Costa ChessClub.com. Today's game is a game between John Harris, one of our local club players. He gave me permission to post a couple of his games with some notes. This game is back from March of 2010, and he's playing against Christopher Nelson. At the time, John was rated 1596, and Christopher was rated 1544. John's playing white, and the game starts out as a Scotch game. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4. And this point, the main line goes pawn takes pawn and knight takes pawn. And at this point, there are two choices. The classical line goes bishop c5, or black can opt for aiming for either a 4 knights or the Mieses. The Mieses is what happened in the game. Knight takes c6, pawn takes c6, and e5. The purpose of this pawn push is to give white a space edge and to cramp black's game quite a bit. White's already got the better pawn structure thanks to the doubled pawns on the c-file for black. So, alright. In the game, the main line here typically continues queen e7 and queen e2. However, in the game, black chose to go knight d5. So, and again, the main line at this point typically would continue c4, knight b6, bishop d3, bishop a6, putting pressure on the c4 pawn, and a line given by carries for this line, or as a good option here, is queen e2, bishop b7, castles, castles, knight c3, rook e8, queen g4, where he says that white has a clear advantage with an initiative on the king side. So going back, in the game, John went for something a little more concrete. He's still stuck with quick development, which is always good, and actually has a threat here on the knight to capture the knight and win the pawn on, after the pawn recaptures, recapture the queen, winning the pawn. So in response to that threat, black responded with bishop b7. So alright, white continued with his fast development with castles, and then black went ahead and played bishop e7, again hoping to get castled fairly quickly. However, in retrospect, that probably isn't the strongest move here. So because it allows white to get a go into a very good line. So instead, perhaps queen h4 with the threat against the bishop would be one route to go, a slightly more aggressive route, or backing up the knight to attack the bishop, or queen e7. So all these are in with the idea of castling queenside. So those are all other potential ideas here. However, after bishop e7, which is what happened in the game, John played a very strong move, queen g4, which puts some pressure on this pawn on g7, which definitely causes black some headaches. In the game, his opponent chose rook g8. However, the other option, main option being g6, which was the only game I could find in this line, went g6 and bishop h6. And now black's going to have a very difficult time castling because this bishop kind of pinning in his pieces, and that rook on h8 is going to have a very long time before it ever gets developed. So in the game he played rook g8, and then John continued with rook to d1, and keeping pressure on the open file and putting his rook on the same row as the queen with some long-term potential there. At this point, black played knight b6, and John played the move, which is really the reason I chose this game and why this game stood out to me. He went ahead with a very interesting sacrifice here, which gives him good compensation. So he played bishop takes f7 check, very good. The choices are to take the bishop or to move. If you move, then after queen f5, white's got quite a winning attack. So correct way is to take the bishop, which is what happened in the game. And then another strong move by John, e6 check. And now, really, obviously, we can't go up well, you can, but it would be kind of suicidal to go up to f6, which hopefully is fairly obvious since you've got the bishop and or queen checking on g5 and just looks quite a crunch. So your real choices are either e8 or f8. One one doesn't win, one holds and one loses. So fortunately for John, unfortunately for his opponent, he chose the wrong one. The correct way to defend this position is to go king f8, and then here, if queen f5 threatening the mate on f7, you can just play queen e8 covering the f7 square, or if queen f5 check, you can just interpose with the bishop. Now, it's not comfortable for black, and again, it's going to be a long time before his rook on g8 gets into play. But in fact, probably just after something simple like knight c3, white has clear compensation for the material that he's given up here, since he's able to get his pieces into play very quickly and has quite a nice attack. And again, essentially black for quite a long time is going to be playing without one of his rooks, and possibly both, since they're not getting into play quickly and whites are already into play. Anyway, so unfortunately in the game, black played king e8 check, which leads to a forced mate, which John saw. So after queen h5, g6, and queen takes h7, black resigned here. So nice short win, only 14 moves for John. The mate would have followed after the longest route to mate, or the longest way that black can delay it, is after rook g7, queen takes g7, queen c8, making some room for the king, queen g6 check. He obviously has to go run away, because if you can't go to f8, you get mated on with queen f7, so king d8, queen g8 check, bishop f8, and queen takes f8 mate. So that was the game for this week, and hope you enjoyed it. I will be digging into this database of local games and hopefully have a few other good ones in the future. Great job by John. I really liked the sacrifice that he made on f7. Definitely got good compensation for the piece. Thanks for watching.